The first rays of morning sunlight had barely begun to chase away the night's shadows when the sound of shattering metal ripped through the tranquil suburban silence of Oakridge Estates. Emma Martinez watched in horrified disbelief as Karen Thornton, the notoriously rigid president of the neighborhood's Homeowners Association, methodically dismantled her custom-fitted wheelchair. Each calculated swing of the sledgehammer sent fragments of specialized carbon fiber frame and precision-engineered components scattering across the meticulously manicured front lawn. The wheelchair, a $35,000 marvel of medical engineering that represented Emma's independence, mobility, and hope, was being destroyed piece by piece. Emma's body, affected by a rare genetic condition called osteogenesis imperfecta, had always been fragile, but her spirit was anything but. At 12 years old, she had already faced more challenges than most people encounter in a lifetime. This wheelchair wasn't just a piece of medical equipment. It was her lifeline, her freedom, her connection to the world. Sarah Martinez, Emma's mother, had been inside the house preparing for a crucial federal civil rights case when the commotion began. A senior litigator with the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, she had built her entire career fighting against discrimination, never imagining the battle would become so personal. The sound of metal breaking pulled her from her morning preparation. As she rushed outside, the scene unfolded like a nightmare in slow motion. "What in God's name are you doing?" Sarah's voice cut through the morning air, a lawyer's precision mixed with a mother's raw emotion. Karen Thornton, dressed in her typical pressed khakis and pastel polo shirt, didn't even flinch. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair and immaculate makeup stood in stark contrast to the destruction she was causing. "This wheelchair is a violation of our community standards," she declared, her voice dripping with a combination of righteous indignation and toxic entitlement. Emma sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. Her small frame, which had already endured countless medical procedures and challenges, now seemed even more vulnerable against the backdrop of her destroyed mobility. The history between the Martinez family and the Oakridge Estates Homeowners Association was long and complicated. Since moving into the neighborhood 3 years ago, Sarah and Emma had been constantly at odds with the HOA's increasingly restrictive and seemingly arbitrary rules. The association had a reputation for micromanaging every aspect of residents' lives, from the exact shade of paint allowed on exterior walls to the type of mailboxes permitted. But this was different. This was personal. This was illegal. "You have no right," Sarah began, her professional demeanor slowly giving way to a controlled fury. "This wheelchair is a federally protected medical device. What you're doing is not just a violation of our rights, it's a criminal act." Karen continued her destruction, seemingly oblivious to the gravity of her actions. "These mobility devices are unsightly. They don't conform to our community aesthetic. We've sent multiple warnings about maintaining the visual consistency of Oakridge Estates." The neighborhood was beginning to wake up. Residents emerged from their identical beige houses, drawn by the commotion. Some looked shocked, others uncomfortable, but no one immediately intervened. What Karen didn't know, what she was about to learn, was that she had chosen the wrong family to target. Sarah Martinez wasn't just any attorney, she was a renowned civil rights lawyer who had successfully argued cases before federal courts, specializing in disability discrimination. Her reputation was built on dismantling systemic barriers and fighting for those who couldn't fight for themselves. As Karen continued her rampage, Sarah began recording the entire incident on her phone. Her movements were calculated, professional, each second of footage, potential evidence, in what was rapidly becoming a landmark civil rights case. Karen Thornton, Sarah's voice was calm, but carried an underlying steel. "You are currently destroying a federally protected mobility device belonging to a disabled minor. Every single action you're taking is being documented and will be used as evidence. The sledgehammer came down one more time, and something inside Emma broke. Not her body. She was used to physical challenges, but something deeper. Her sense of safety, of belonging, of being seen as a full human being. Within 30 minutes, local law enforcement arrived, but these weren't just any responding officers. Given Sarah's professional connections and the clear-cut nature of this violation, the department had sent officers specifically trained in handling civil rights incidents. As Karen was placed under arrest, the full weight of her actions began to sink in. Charges were being drawn up: vandalism, destruction of private property, violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act, civil rights infractions. The wheelchair, now reduced to a pile of broken components, represented more than just a mobility device. It was a symbol of resilience, of medical innovation, of a young girl's determination to live fully despite her physical challenges. Emma's condition, osteogenesis imperfecta, meant that her bones were extraordinarily fragile. Each wheelchair was custom designed, taking months to perfect. The destroyed device represented not just a financial loss, but a carefully engineered piece of technology that allowed her maximum independence and mobility. In the weeks that followed, the case became more than just a local incident. National disability rights organizations took notice. Emma's story began to circulate in media outlets, becoming a powerful narrative about accessibility, discrimination, and the ongoing challenges faced by individuals with disabilities. The legal proceedings were swift and decisive. Sarah's expertise, combined with clear video evidence and expert testimony about the wheelchair's specific medical necessity, meant that the case was almost immediately ruled in their favor. The Oakridge Estates Homeowners Association was forced to not only pay for a completely new custom wheelchair, but also implement comprehensive training on disability rights. Karen Thornton was removed from her position and faced significant personal and professional consequences. But the true victory wasn't financial, it was cultural. Emma, far from being defeated, transformed her experience into advocacy. With her mother's support, she began speaking at schools, community centers, and national conferences. Her message was clear: disability is not a limitation, and no one has the right to diminish a person's worth or independence. The wheelchair sat in her room, no longer just a mobility device, but a symbol of resistance, resilience, and the unbreakable human spirit. 3 years after the incident, Emma Martinez received a National Youth Leadership Award for her disability rights advocacy. She had become a powerful voice for inclusivity, challenging perceptions and breaking down barriers. Karen Thornton, once a feared HOA president, found herself professionally and socially isolated, a permanent reminder that true community is built on respect, understanding, and celebration of diversity. The sledgehammer that was meant to destroy became a tool of empowerment. And in the quiet suburbs of Oakridge Estates, a new understanding of community was born, one where every individual, regardless of ability, was valued and protected.